The First Anglo-Afghan War, also known as Auckland's Folly, was fought between the British East India Company and Afghanistan from 1839 to 1842, and ended in an overall Afghan victory. It is famous for the killing of 4,500 British and Indian soldiers, plus 12,000 of their camp followers, by Afghan tribal fighters, but the British defeated the Afghans in the concluding engagement. It was one of the first major conflicts during the Great Game, the 19th century competition for power and influence in Asia between the United Kingdom and the Russian Empire. Causes: in the 1830s the British Empire was firmly entrenched in India, but by 1837 Lord Palmerston and John Hobhouse, fearing the instability of Afghanistan, the signed, and the increasing power of the Sikh kingdom to the northwest, raised the specter of a possible Russian invasion of India through Afghanistan. The Russian Empire was slowly extending its domain into Central Asia, and this was seen as an encroachment south that might prove fatal for the British Company rule in India. The British sent an envoy to Kabul to form an alliance with Afghanistan's Emir, Dost Muhammad Khan, against Russia. Dost Muhammad had recently lost Afghanistan's second capital of Peshawar to the Sikh Empire and wanted support to retake it, but the British were unwilling. When Governor-General of India Lord Auckland heard about the arrival of Russian envoy Jan Vitkiewicz in Kabul and the possibility that Dost Muhammad might turn to Russia for support, his political advisers exaggerated the threat. British fears of a Russian invasion of India took one step closer to becoming a reality when negotiations between the Afghans and Russians broke down in 1838. The Qajar dynasty of Persia, with Russian support, attempted the siege of Herat, 1838, but backed down when Britain threatened war. Russia, wanting to increase its presence in South and Central Asia, had formed an alliance with Qajar Persia, which had territorial disputes with Afghanistan as Herat had been part of the Safavid Persia before 1709. Lord Auckland's plan was to drive away the besiegers and replace the ruler of Afghanistan with one who was pro-British, Shuja Shah Durrani. The British denied that they were invading Afghanistan, claiming they were merely supporting its legitimate Shuja government against foreign interference and factious opposition. British Indian invasion of Afghanistan. An army of 21,000 British and Indian troops under the command of John Keane, 1st Baron Keane, subsequently replaced by Sir Willoughby Cotton and then by William Elphinstone, set out from Punjab in December 1838. With them was William Hay Macnaghten, the former Chief Secretary of the Calcutta government, who had been selected as Britain's chief representative to Kabul. By late March 1839 the British forces had crossed the Bolan Pass, reached the Balak city of Quetta, and begun their march to Kabul. They advanced through rough terrain, across deserts and 4,000 high mountain passes, but made good progress and finally set up camps at Kandahar on April 25, 1839. On July 22, 1839, in a surprise attack, the British-led forces captured the fortress of Ghazni, which overlooks a plain leading eastward into the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The British troops blew up one city gate and marched into the city in a euphoric mood. In taking this fortress, they suffered 200 men killed and wounded, while the Afghans lost nearly 500 men. 1,600 Afghans were taken prisoner with an unknown number wounded. Ghazni was well supplied, which eased the further advance considerably. Following this, the British achieved a decisive victory over Dost Muhammad's troops, led by one of his sons. Dost Muhammad fled with his loyal followers across the passes to Bamiyan, and ultimately to Bukhara. In August 1839, after 30 years, Shuja was again enthroned in Kabul. Kalat, on November 13, 1839, while en route to India, the Bombay column of the British Indian Army attacked, as a form of reprisal, the Balak tribal fortress of Kalat, from where Balak tribes had harassed and attacked British convoys during the move towards the Boland Pass. Occupation and rise of the Afghans. The majority of the British troops returned to India, leaving 8,000 in Afghanistan, but it soon became clear that Shuja's rule could only be maintained with the presence of a stronger British force. The Afghans resented the British presence and their rule of Shah Shuja. As the occupation dragged on, William Hay McNiggton allowed his soldiers to bring their families to Afghanistan to improve morale. This further infuriated the Afghans, as it appeared the British were setting up a permanent occupation. Dost Muhammad unsuccessfully attacked the British and their Afghan protégé, and subsequently surrendered and was exiled to India in late 1840. By this time, the British had vacated the fortress of Baluhisar and relocated to a cantonment built to the northeast of Kabul. The chosen location was indefensible, being low and swampy with hills on every side. To make matters worse, the cantonment was too large for the number of troops camped in it and had a defensive perimeter almost 2 miles long. In addition, the stores and supplies were in a separate fort, 300 yards from the main cantonment. Between April and October 1841, disaffected Afghan tribes were flocking to support Dost Muhammad's son, Akbar Khan, in Bamiyan and other areas north of the Hindu Kush Mountains, organized into an effective resistance by chiefs such as Mir Masjidi Khan and others. In November 1841, a senior British officer, Sir Alexander Secundar Burnes, and his aides were killed by a mob in Kabul. The British forces took no action in response, which encouraged further revolt. The British situation soon deteriorated when Afghans stormed the poorly defended supply fort inside Kabul on November 9. In the following weeks the British commanders tried to negotiate with Akbar Khan. McNiggton secretly offered to make Akbar Afghanistan's vizier in exchange for allowing the British to stay, while simultaneously disbursing large sums of money to have him assassinated, which was reported to Akbar Khan. Citation needed. A meeting for direct negotiations between McNiggton and Akbar was held near the cantonment on 23 December, but McNiggton and the 3 officers accompanying him were seized and slain by Akbar Khan. McNiggton's body was dragged through the streets of Kabul and displayed in the bazaar. Elphinstone had partly lost command of his troops already and his authority was badly damaged.